Welcome to The Deep Dive. Today we're unpacking, well, a really fascinating and sometimes pretty uncomfortable topic, conspiracy theories.
hmm
We're drawing from an article, The Seven Greatest Conspiracy Theories of Our Time, which lays these ideas out pretty raw.
Right.
And look, our goal isn't really to prove or disprove them. It's more about understanding what they are, the claims they make, and maybe what they tell us about, human nature, our search for answers.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of
Yeah.
amazing how these stories, whatever their basis, really capture the imagination of millions.
Yeah.
So we're going to explore some of the big ones from the source material, starting with those that really challenge the official history books,
Okay.
like the idea that the 1969 moon landing was faked.
Right, the classic.
Yeah. Believers often point to things like no stars being visible in the photos.
Mhm.
Experts say the bright lunar surface would wash them out, but
But the argument persists. And the flag.
the flapping flag, yeah. Though that's often explained by an internal rod they use to make it look unfurled in the vacuum.
Ah.
And strange shadows, too, which some interpret as proof of artificial lighting, like on a set.
So the core idea there is often this deep distrust of government stories, maybe tied to the Cold War or something.
That seems to be a big part of it, yes. A sense that something's being hidden.
And, well, building on that distrust, you also get the claims around 9/11 being an inside job.
hmm
That theory questions things like why World Trade Center 7 collapsed. It wasn't directly hit by a plane.
Exactly. Or it asks, who really benefits from the aftermath of the war, the fear, the focus on oil.
It feels like it speaks to this powerful need people have to find clear intent behind huge, awful events rather than just chaos or complexity,
That's a great way to put it. And you have theories that challenge, well, our whole picture of reality.
like flat Earth.
Like the flat Earth movement, yeah.
Yeah.
They argue the horizon always looks flat, no matter how high you go.
Okay.
Or that flight paths look weird on a globe model, and that Antarctica isn't a continent you could just cross, but this massive ice wall surrounding us.
Wow. It highlights this desire to trust what you see with your own eyes over what science tells you, maybe. Uncovering some big deception.
Precisely. It's about trusting direct experience and believing there's a grand, hidden truth.
The level of detail in some of these claims, like for flat Earth, even if the science doesn't hold up, is pretty incredible. What does that tell us?
I think it tells us there's often a real deep need for an alternative story, a hidden explanation that feels more complete or satisfying than the official one.
Right.
And that desire for hidden truths, it pops up again with theories about who or maybe what is actually in charge, like reptiloids.
Ah, yes, the alien lizard people disguised as humans, pulling the strings in politics.
That's the one. Believers sometimes say they've seen reptilian eyes on politicians, or they just point to power structures that seem, I don't know, too perfectly orchestrated to be merely human.
It's almost a metaphor, isn't it? For feeling powerless, maybe? Blaming problems on some unseen, non-human force.
It certainly functions that way for some. And then, sort of related to unseen forces, you have chemtrails.
The idea that planes are secretly spraying chemicals for mind control or weather manipulation or population control.
Exactly. And what's interesting now is how that sometimes gets tangled up, often wrongly, with real discussions about geoengineering.
Oh, right. The actual scientific ideas about large-scale climate modification.
Yeah. So it kind of taps into existing anxieties about environmental control and things we can't see affecting us.
That makes sense. So how these fears can get sort of repurposed.
And then there's the really big one, the sort of umbrella theory for some, the New World Order.
Secret societies, Bilderbergers, Freemasons, Illuminati.
Supposedly working behind the scenes for a single world government, total control, basically wiping out individuality.
It feels like a grand unifying theory for people who find the world too messy or chaotic, like they want one source of control, even a bad one.
It offers a single, though sinister, explanation for complexity. Yeah.
And then finally, the one that really bends reality. The idea we might all be living in a simulation.
Ah, the very complex video game idea, as Elon Musk put it.
Right. That we're just avatars, maybe without real free will, all programmed.
It definitely pushes the limits of how we think about reality, free will, everything. It's quite profound in a way.
So when you look at all these, from the moon landing to the simulation, what's the common thread?
Well, what's really fascinating, and what our source points to, is how they often seem to sprout where trust is broken down. Trust in politics, in science, in the media.
That makes sense.
They really reflect these deep, fundamental human needs we have for security, for feeling some sense of control, and for getting clear answers, especially when the world feels overwhelmingly complex.
Right. So maybe the provocative thought for you, the listener, is this. The next time you hear a really wild theory,
Hmm.
consider what deeper anxieties or maybe unmet needs it might be tapping into for the people who believe it. And what does that say about the world we're all living in?